Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford's EDC, and today we're taking a look at the Kansept knives Tuckamore. This is a really interesting looking knife overall, between all the different shapes and contours you have going on, plus this harpoon Warncliffe blade shape thing that you have going on. Uh, it is an interesting one, and this inlay here, this copper carbon fiber, is nice and visually appealing as well. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about this knife. You have a milled titanium clip, and of course, this is a titanium frame lock. I would almost call this a bolster lock, but the frame is exposed completely on this side, so I'm going to stick with frame lock with overlays. And maybe I guess they're technically inlays too. This is an amalgamation of a lot of things. This knife. On this side, it's kind of more of an overlay that turns into an inlay, and on this side it is fully an inlay. And I only say that because obviously the frame separates from the inlay material here, which means it's no longer inlaid into the titanium. So hope you can see where I'm struggling with that. The detent on this guy is soft. That is the one big downside of this guy, is that the detent is just not there. This had potential to be really poppy and snappy, and it just kind of, it flutters out of there. It's just not great. Now, if you attack it upward and get this top end of the hole and flick up opposed to out at all, you can get it to pop out, no problem. But of course, you can still get it to miss doing that as well. So that's just something to keep in mind, which really plays into the reverse flick. What I have tended to do with this is that you have this small exposed area here at the bottom that is kind of chamfered out and sunken in slightly. I like to get my middle finger into there and then flick up and out, and it results in a pretty good flick overall. You could of course go into the hole as well, get a little bit more of a snappy flick, but the hand positioning for that, I find either the regular hole or the bottom, like I indicated at the first time, to be the most comfortable way to get back into this kind of a saber grip position. Now, talking about the grip, the ergonomics on this are pretty good. This nice big choil area here. It's not a choil, but it's a cutout in the handle. It fits my my fat fingers pretty well. My pointer finger slots right into that, and then if I really need to, I can put my middle finger in the bottom of it and then choke up to this point right here, which is a nice alternative option, though I don't find this angle very comfortable in between my ring finger and middle finger, so I tend to stay back here on it, where I can get a 4-finger grip with no problem. You can see there's still handle left and access to that jimping, and you can adjust as well to kind of give yourself a little more room, like I said, by choking up. Let's talk about the blade a little bit. You have this fairly shallow flat grind, which is a little unfortunate. It would be nice to have seen a deep hollow put on this. That would have made it for an excellent slicer, but instead you have this flat grind, so it doesn't slice the best. It certainly works. I mean, there's no problems using this knife compared to most other regular EDC type knives, but the geometry isn't stellar or anything like that. So that is just something to keep in mind if you are someone who is like a behind the edge thickness snob like I am. You're probably not going to be a huge fan of this guy, just because it doesn't get incredibly thin, and it thickens it up pretty quickly, which you can kind of see there. It's always tough to show that off. This blade shape is interesting. It reminds me a lot of like a stretched out version of the Devo Stout, which Kevin might not like that comparison, but that's the one I'm going to make. I don't have one handy, unfortunately, but the Stout has that like harpoon kind of thing going on at the top, and this almost does it. It swoops back up, not quite to the same level, and it certainly is not as tall of a blade, and they use the they use a hollow grind as well, making the Stout blade infinitely better in my opinion, but just similar type lines, just more stretched out on this guy here. Everything else, like construction-wise about the knife, is pretty nice. The clip is great. You have a nice milled clip with pretty good retention. The carbon fiber feels good. It's not seamless, but it's damn close. in all these transition points between titanium and carbon fiber. Really, you're feeling material differences more than you are feeling transition points. So that is something worth keeping in mind. The pivot collars give a nice little pop of color. I think copper pivot collars would have looked cool and kept things together, but for all I know, they could be using the same. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long morning. They could be using the same colored pivot collars for all the versions of this knife. I am not 100% sure of that. Nevertheless, though, I think the knife has an interesting look to it. It's not my cup of tea personally, but I know a lot of people enjoy designs just like this, so I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people. And for a general EDC knife, it is pretty good, like I said. Like I did say, this is the Tuckamore, and I didn't mention the steel. It is 20 CV, which is nice to see. Nice American steel that everyone tends to like and appreciate being used here. So that is awesome to see. And I think that's about all I have to say about the Tuckamore here. Pretty good ergos. Cutting performance is fine. It's nothing stellar, nothing to write home about, but it certainly does do the job just fine. Action is pretty good, though the detent could be stronger. It is on bearings. It just needs a little bit of a shaking to get shut. You can see that there. I'm trying to be as light as possible to show off the action, but you know, just a little bit of shaking and you can get this guy closed with no problem, or of course you can always just guide it in with your fingers. But yeah, the Tuckamore is a pretty decent piece overall that I think a lot of people are going to dig the design on. So that is what I have to say for this. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this guy down below. This can definitely be a controversial one between the blade shape, the inlay choice, the weak detent, whatever other gripes people might have about it, I'm sure will be talked about in the comments down below. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and take care.